Hello again, Steven. As you know, Avengers Endgame is now out, and a lot of people have been asking, do I need to see all of the Marvel movies before I go and see Endgame? And while I am a firm believer that you really need to see all the preceding movies in order to really appreciate Endgame, if you don't want to, here is a 5-minute recap. 21 movies recapped in 5 minutes. It's going to be bare bones, and I'm going to be talking really fast, so here we go. Okay, so in the Marvel Universe, the main heroes on Earth are called the Avengers, which is the brainchild of S.H.I.E.L.D., an intelligence agency. S.H.I.E.L.D. is run by Alexander Pierce, and Nick Fury and Agent Coulson are the ones that handle the Avengers. Now, let's meet the players. Captain America, aka Steve Rogers, is a super soldier born out of scientific experiments during World War II. Iron Man, aka Tony Stark, a brilliant billionaire engineer who has an awakening in Afghanistan where he develops the Iron Man suit and devotes his life to hero work. The Incredible Hulk, aka Bruce Banner, a physicist altered by gamma rays who turns into a giant green monster when angered. Thor, god of thunder and son of Odin, who is king of Asgard, gifted with super strength and wields Mjolnir, a hammer that can only be used by one who is worthy. Finally, Black Widow, aka Natasha Romanoff, and Hawkeye, aka Clint Barton, two assassins without superpowers. Where would the heroes be without their supporting cast? So here are a bunch of the secondary characters you need to know. Howard Stark, Tony's dad. We see him at various points starting out working on the project that created Captain America, then forming S.H.I.E.L.D., then dying in the 90s. The Winter Soldier, aka Bucky Barnes. He starts out as Cap's closest friend, supposedly dies, but then emerges as a brainwashed assassin before he's turned back to the good side. Peggy Carter, a British agent from Cap's time, also a founding member of S.H.I.E.L.D. They fall in love, but that's sadly torn apart when he crashes a plane and ends up frozen in ice for 70 years. Pepper Potts, Tony Stark's love interest. She begins as his assistant, but is then promoted to running the company. We get to see her briefly dabble in hero work when she dons a suit in Iron Man 3. War Machine, aka Colonel James Rhodes. He starts out as Tony's military liaison, but eventually steals an Iron Man suit for the Air Force and through some mods becomes War Machine. Loki, Thor's adopted brother, spends most of his time as a villain, more about him later. Doctors Jane Foster and Eric Selvig, two astrophysicists Thor meets when he's cast out of Asgard down to Earth. Foster is important later on. The first phase of the MCU brings this chunk of the Avengers together. Following their origin stories, they come together when Loki, at the request of Thanos, opens a portal above New York City, thereby releasing an invading alien army. The Avengers are pushed to uniting over a common cause, and together they stop the attack on New York. After this, and a messy throwdown with a robot named Ultron, the world calls for oversight on the Avengers. Opinions differ, this splits the team, and they fall out hard. Let's go to outer space for a second. Carol Danvers, aka Captain Marvel, was an Air Force pilot in the 90s before she gained her powers from blowing up a plane's engine. Her story is a bit hard to condense, so as long as you know that she's equipped with unparalleled power, that'll do. She also worked with Nick Fury, and before leaving Earth, Marvel left him an intergalactic pager as a means to contact her in case of emergency. You can't talk about space without talking about the Guardians of the Galaxy. The Guardians are a ragtag group of do-gooders who include Peter Quill, Drax, Rocket, Groot, Mantis, and the two assassin daughters of Thanos, Gamora, and Nebula. Back to Earth now, and let's add some Avengers to the crew. Captain America meets the Falcon, aka Sam Wilson, while working in DC. Scarlet Witch, aka Wanda Maximoff, equipped with powerful telekinetic powers. Spider-Man, aka Peter Parker, is a high school kid from Queens, equipped with spider-like superpowers. Tony Stark takes his handmade costume show and gives it a considerable upgrade. Doctor Strange, aka Stephen Strange, is a neurosurgeon turned sorcerer, training in the mystic arts under the Ancient One and fighting alongside Master Wong. Black Panther, aka T'Challa, is the king of Wakanda, a secret nation in Africa years ahead in technology and weaponry than any other country in the world. He fights alongside his sister Shuri and Okoye, a Wakandan warrior. Ant-Man, aka Scott Lang, is a thief turned crime fighter. Dr. Hank Pym worked with Howard Stark at S.H.I.E.L.D. and developed the shrinking technology, which powers both the Ant-Man suit and Hope Pym's Wasp suit. Now, if you use this to shrink to a subatomic level, you enter the quantum realm, which Scott does multiple times and is where we leave him at the end of his sequel. So many characters, and the storyline that ties them all together is that of the Infinity Stones. 6 stones, each casing an aspect of existence. Thanos, the villain to end all villains, wants them. Let's follow them through the movies. In World War II, Steve fights the Red Skull, leader of Hydra, who uses the Tesseract to power weapons. The Tesseract is lost in the end, but is recovered by Howard Stark. It's lost briefly in Captain Marvel, but she returns it to Fury for it to be kept safely at S.H.I.E.L.D. Loki steals it from S.H.I.E.L.D. and uses it to open a portal in New York. When Thor captures Loki, he brings the Tesseract with them to Asgard. Asgard is obliterated thanks to Thor's sister Hela, who also destroyed Thor's hammer on her rampage of destruction, but Loki snags the Tesseract before leaving and unfortunately ends up giving it to Thanos, who breaks it open to reveal the Space Stone. Guardians is kicked off by Quill stealing an orb off the planet Morag. This changes hands throughout the movie before it's opened to reveal the Power Stone. They store the stone on the planet Xandar, but Thanos gets it anyway. The Ether, an ancient source of power, infects Jane Foster. Thor takes her to Asgard, and eventually the Ether is separated from Jane and sent to a planet Nowhere for safekeeping. Thanos then steals it from Nowhere, revealing it to be the Reality Stone. Doctor Strange, in his studies, masters the Eye of Agamotto, a necklace capable of altering time. They soon realize this houses the Time Stone, which Doctor Strange reluctantly hands over to Thanos in exchange for Tony Stark's life. The Soul Stone is only shown when Thanos goes to Vormir with Gamora and throws her off a cliff as a form of sacrifice in order to obtain the stone. When Loki is attacking New York, he yields a scepter, which holds a gem. This gem, the Mind Stone, is eventually used to bring life to Vision, an android created by Ultron and Stark. The final battle in Infinity War is basically the Avengers and Wakandans defending Vision and the stone against Thanos. They lose, and Thanos rips the Mind Stone out of Vision's head. So all efforts have failed to stop Thanos. The Hulk was beaten handily. Thanos defeated Iron Man and the Guardians with Spider-Man and Strange. Thor even gets a new axe to replace his hammer, but that is not enough. Thanos gets the stones, places them in his gauntlet, and snaps his fingers. With that snap, he wiped out half of all living creatures, and in his mind, this balances the galaxy, solves overpopulation, and makes for a better future. Infinity War closes with us watching our heroes fade into nothingness. And that is where we end. Please see Endgame. It's too awesome for words. See ya.